welcome for the first time to our Quebec radio show, Prescription Punk Rock. It's not the first time we have your band on the show. It's always a huge honor. But for people that don't recognize your beautiful face, your beautiful hair, who the hell are you, man?
I am Chris Dobus, and I'm a drummer for Testament.
Hell yeah. Welcome for the first time, Krish. It's a huge honor. Before talking about that tour and Testament, I'm curious. Let's get back to when you were a kid. How did you start discovering music? And were there people around you that influenced you into that quest journey?
So when I was really little, like 2, 3 years old, I kind of wandered into my parents' basement, and there was this snare drum there, and that's kind of how I discovered it. My dad was a drummer, and it was funny. He was actually getting ready to, because he wasn't playing much anymore. He was getting ready to sell the kit, and then the drum kit, and but he didn't, because I ended up really taking a liking to it. So he set the whole thing back up, and then he kind of started teaching me some stuff. And then when I was around like 8 or 9 years old, I started taking like formal drum lessons. And then I studied really, really hard. And then I went to music school. And now I played with Seven Spires for pretty much 10 years. And now I'm here. So that's kind of the short story.
And I'm curious, it's so hard the first year when you start an instrument that I think it's the most crucial. It's where people got discouraged. Or when you take lesson, sometimes you got teacher that got different angle and different, love for music. So they put you into those cliche of music, like the Stairway to Heaven for guitar, for example. How was it for you with the course, and how was your teacher?
It was really good. I studied with a variety of teachers. The first teacher's name was Ricardo Nutch. He's a Brazilian guy, and I studied with him for a couple of years. Then I moved on to another guy named Dave Jamrog, the local guy. And then there's only a year or two, I think it was like a year. And then I really settled into my first like real like full-time teacher. His name's James Murphy. He was the drummer for the Blue Man Group up in Boston, where the Charles Playhouse, where I'm from. So I studied with him for like 11 or 12 years total. And then on top of that, for 4 or 5 years, I studied with a guy named Steve Michaud. Really amazing drummer. And then another guy named Dave DeCenso. I played with like the Cro-Mags, Two Ton Shoe, Josh Groban. Yeah, so he was also, these other three guys are two. So James and Dave are Berklee professors now still, but Steve is a Berklee alumni, however you say it. Yeah, but yeah. So yeah, those are my like three main teachers, like from like really like, so James was like my technique teacher. Steve was like my chops teacher, and Dave was kind of like the more spiritual side of drumming teacher and stuff like that. So it was really, 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 really cool. I had a good experience with my drum teachers, and then also at Berklee, I learned a lot as well. I studied with all kinds of different teachers there as well.
That's so cool because I asking because I know the way you play, we see that there's so much influence. So you open every door and try every aspect. And I think as a musician, that's the best you can do. Being open mind and open to what the world can throw you, even if it's not your cup of tea, and
Yeah.
you listen to other stuff.
It's funny you notice it, because there was a point in my life where like late high school, where like I kind of stopped playing metal, but not on purpose. It was because I was studying so much, so I really dove into like jazz and Latin styles music, and funk and R&B, and it was funny. And then I just got to Berklee, and I was like, you know what? Okay, now I'm really, really gonna get back, focus on I want to be like the best metal drummer here, or something like that. That was kind of like my mindset, because I was like, what I love in here. That's like my passion, what got me into music. So But it was funny that you mentioned that because there is there was a point where I just was only doing like jazz, other kinds of stuff, and of course at Berkeley we did a bunch of different stuff as well. But I remember that freshman year at Berkeley where I'm like, all right, back to the metal grind, you know. So yeah,
And when you grow up, how was the scene? Boston have such an interesting music scene. I mean, every style are very well represented, but there's always something special in it.
yeah. I at least growing up and when my band Before Testament, like 10 years ago, Seven Spires, when we were playing locally and stuff. I mean, the music scene, at least at that time, was extremely like that whole New England metal scene was very active and very alive, and it was you could see some really cool local shows. But it's been a while since I've like really like hung out like just in that Boston metal scene because I'm traveling so much. But I think it's very alive and well there, you know. So it's they love their heavy metal over there.
Yeah, yeah. And that's the crazy thing. When you joined Testament, I'm sure you were fans. How did what got you into Testament, and how excitement it was to join the band?
Are you asking what got me into them as a fan, like when I was a kid, or
Yeah.
sure.
Yes.
So if I remember the story correctly, I was at a drum lesson and um, my I was doing some metal stuff, and my drum teacher, I was like 11 or 12 at the time. So James, he was like, "Oh, you should check out Gene Hoglan. You know, he told me about the Symbolic album." And I was like, okay, yeah, cool. And me and my dad, after the lesson, we went to a store called Newbury Comics, and we got that CD that he was talking about, and it was really cool. So of course I became a fan. And so just as a drummer, of course, I'm like, well, what other stuff is this guy doing? And at the time, they were just putting out Dark Roots of Earth. So I went and got that. Testament was. I was so Gene was in the band at the time, so I went and got that record. That was kind of my gateway into the band. Then of course I started going down the rabbit hole and checked out everything else. So yeah, that was kind of my introduction as a kid to Testament.
It's crazy because growing up, of course, it was Megadeth, it was Metallica, and Trax. Testament was there with Overkill and all that generation of band, but they never went for head. And when I spoke to Chuck, I said, it's funny because it didn't seem that you were, the leader of the movement at that times. But with times, people look at that and they were like, blow mine how good you were, because there was so much band at that times that people missed something. And I think that with times, Testament have proved that they're way better than they were when they started up. And it's one of those band who release better stuff than ever. I mean, the last record, it fucking blew my mind. I was like, how crazy that after all those years, they're better than ever. And there's been the first wave and people that were in front that struggle releasing records because, the industry, the pressure and everything. So it felt that it didn't have that pressure and it was all about the music for all those years, and the money
Yeah.
didn't screw that up.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's cool to be a part of it now and play those songs. Really looking forward to releasing the new record, and it's a blast playing all these songs. Right now we're on tour doing the Legacy and the New Order, the first two records, and it's cool to see people who have been around supporting them since the very beginning, since before I was even born, coming and feeling this nostalgic. Whoa, this is so cool! And then also having people my age, and going and seeing these songs for the first time and getting to experience it like it was back in those days. So yeah, it's just when you were talking about that, it just that's what came to my head. So yeah, it is really cool.
Yeah, and with Creator, it's amazing, man. I mean, like Creator is another band that never went at the front at the beginning, but with times you have legions of fans. So it must be fun to mix the two crowd together and reach other people also.
Yeah, for sure. And then we did South America with them last year, so it's cool to be out with them again, and then we're going to Europe with them and Anthrax after this, and so it is cool. We're doing a lot of touring together and becoming good buds, which is great. And then of course the Zest is killing it every night as well. So
And how do you approach, how was it when you start with the band? How do you approach that catalog? There are so many songs. Do you go with what they play live and then from that you learn those songs? Or you really try to get the pattern that, they have with the drums and then you create with what you know? Because I'm sure you bring other elements, or do you recreate perfectly those songs, or they let you bring something?
um, I learned the songs um, pretty much note for note at first because I want to stay true to the parts and respect, you know, the song already exists in the parts of the parts, right? So I try to do that. But then after that, once I get really comfortable, I try to imagine what I would have done if I was in that session. Like if I was in that recording session, what would my approach have been, or what would I have accented a little different? Or so I think I'll add some double bass stuff, some little spurts, little runs, maybe some stuff off the splashes or some bell. I do a lot of ride cymbal bell patterns and stuff, so I'll add it, of course, in I think a respectful way to the songs. It's just I try to imagine what I would have done. I don't go too crazy, but I'll maybe Eric's playing a line. I'm like, oh, that's cool, and I want to accent that with him or whatever. It's so I try to bring my own flair, of course, and imagine what I would have done if I was in those recording sessions, but at the same time, being very being true to the actual part itself. So, that's why I learned the song uh, exact first, because there's been times where I've added stuff and Eric or someone will go, oh, I don't know if we should add that double bass there. Okay, no worries. I know the part like it should be, so I'll go back to how it should have been. So that doesn't, it's not like I'm, trying to recreate the parts. Like I said, it's just I would say just learn the parts, stay true to them, and then add my flair when it's appropriate.
Yeah, yeah. Don't be all over the place, but just little parts sometimes. Because I think that music is a living thing. I think that when you create those things, it's yours until you release it, and then it's theirs. And people have different vision, different feeling, emotion about that. So, and when you go see a band live and you see them, through times, because most of fans of metal, we follow those bands for many years, and you see the evolution of those songs and those little thing they add, which make it, living thing.
Yeah, like exciting and not just a replica of the record. So just yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and as a fan, you want to see different things and different songs, and that's another cool thing with Testament. I think Iron Maiden play that card too, what they want to hear and go in that direction, not just, doing like the cycle of, oh, we release an album, we're going to play 8 songs from that records, a couple of old stuff, and then next records and next records. It's cool that they go back in time, like you said, and give that to the fans because, as fans, I fucking love it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's kind of what's in my head with that. Because people also will air drum certain things. If there's rolls that are, I'm going to play that like it's supposed. That's the part. So
Yeah, when you see like the record of the show, you see those people banging in their head. You're like, yeah, yeah, they're into that part.
right,
Not just their guitar, like fucking.
exactly. That's a
So,
cool question. That's a good question, man.
and how's the tour so far? You're in Canada right now. Welcome to Canada. Welcome back to Quebec.
So are you from here?
I'm from Quebec City. It's 3 hours from Montreal. I think you
Okay.
you play at Laval.
Yeah, we're playing in Montreal tonight. Yes.
Yes, that's cool. Yeah, it's 3 hours ride from Quebec City, but yeah, it's gonna be crazy, man.
Yeah, it's a sold out show tonight, so I'm really really excited. It's gonna be a fun one.
And so, when was the last time you were in Quebec?
Um, Me personally, it was when I was with Seven Spires a couple years ago. I think on the tour with Elevati. If not, then it was with Dragon Force before that. So, yeah, it's my first time here with Testament, though. So,
And it's
hope
cool.
everyone will enjoy it.
Montreal is such a dirty city, but it's a metal city. You know, I think that it's a funny thing. They say Quebec is the capital of metal in
Oh yeah,
Canada. We love our metal, but Montreal, yeah, it's really special. It's almost 3 million people of population, so it's a big city compared to Quebec, which is like
I
300K.
love Montreal. I love it. I always look forward to coming here. So
Yeah.
it's cool. I'm glad I'm here with this band now. It's gonna be a fun night.
So how's going to be the rest of the tour for Testament? You mentioned Europe, and then you get home and work on some new stuff.
Yeah. We have uh basically in between the tours and one-off shows we have, we're gonna be just finishing up the record and stuff. My drum parts are done. Chuck's pretty close to being done. Steve's pretty close to being done. Eric's rhythms are pretty much done. It's kind of like nitty gritty stuff now, like solos, harmonies, and maybe some revisions, of some stuff, just whatever. Yeah, but it's getting there. And but yeah, we're doing a lot of touring right now, so we only have when in between. Even last year when we were touring a lot, but Eric and I in between each of the tours we get together and work on it together. So then we go and jam with Chuck, and yeah, so it's gonna be heavy. I'm excited.
Can't wait. And I'm sure when you arrive in a band, that's what you want. Release new stuff. And yeah, I'm on that record.
Of course, yeah, but I'm excited. But it's also been great playing and learning all their catalog and everything. So it's been fantastic. They're all great guys, treat me well, and we're all good friends now and everything. So everything's just going smooth.
It's so cool. It's kind of best of both worlds to arrive in a band where you learn that catalog, but you also learn that they're working on new stuff. So you have like all that work of getting through the catalog, but also you see that there's gonna be something with your signature with you on it. So yeah, I'm sure you're excited, and we are all to hear the direction of the next records. And I'm sure it's gonna be crazy. It's such a great line for Testament. Like I said, I think they are at the top of the art after all those years, man. That's crazy.
Yeah. Well, it's cool to be a part of it.
Krish, thank you so much for your time. Go enjoy Montreal. Don't eat too much poutine. It's so greasy.
I know. Whenever I come here, I think around this area is the best poutine, at least from my experience. So I'm excited. I'm actually probably gonna go get some.
Say hi to everybody in the band and shake hand to Chuck. And yeah, next time come to Quebec City. We're gonna do a huge special on Testament. And yeah, welcome aboard, and thank you for your time and generosity. I really had a blast.
Oh yeah, me too. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Hell yeah! Cheers! Bye bye, Krish.
Woo!
Have a kick-ass
Are we
tour.
are we hanging up, or are you just
Yes.
stopping the recording? Okay.
Yes.
see you later.
Cheers. See
Bye.
you.
Prescription is what you need. No more inhibition, set yourself free. Just let go, that's my only plea. A punk rock prescription is